number. Kutoka hapo mudzaona skulu yomwe mukufuna kulipira komanso dzina la ophunzira. Onetsetsani kuti zonse ndizolondola. Lembani pini yanu ya Airtel.
It's time for our 7:30 news bulletin. My name is Tandi Wenzmara. First, the headlines. Pope Leo XIV voices sorrow over deadly Nigeria attacks and urges protection of civilians. Parliament calls for financial independence to strengthen oversight role. Government flags staffing and vandalism challenges affecting early warning systems. And in other news, Pan-African women leaders pen explosive letter to Yoweri Museveni over sexual violence on women after Uganda elections. We do have the details to these stories and more. To stay with us. Pope Leo XIV condemned ongoing violence in Nigeria on Sunday in the wake of Islamist extremist attacks on a majority moderate Muslim village in Kwara State that left as many as 200 people dead and much of the town destroyed. The recent attacks have further advanced fears violence is spreading in the West African nation of 230 million people, Africa's most populous, with governors of affected states appealing to Nigerian federal authorities as people across the spectrum of opinion in the country and around the world grow increasingly critical of national level efforts. Speaking to pilgrims and tourists gathered in St. Peter's Square for the Sunday Angelus prayer, the Pope expressed his sorrow and concern over the recent attacks, noting that they have led to a heavy loss of life. We have more details in this Cruise Now report read by Charity Chilanga.
The governor of Kwara, Abdul Rahman Abdul Razak, said last week's attack was likely a response to counter-terrorism operations in the region. Local residents have provided intelligence for similar operations. The office of Nigerian President Bola Tinubu released a statement in the wake of last week's attacks, announcing plans to deploy an army battalion, somewhere between 300 and 1,000 soldiers, to the Kiama area, the locus of the attack in Kwara, in which there had been limited security presence. Christians have been particularly targeted, as have moderate Muslims and anyone who resists or rejects the Islamist insurgency ideology. On Thursday of last week, the governor of Nigeria's Kaduna State announced the release of all 183 Christians captured in 3 roughly simultaneous abductions in January. That announcement followed the Wednesday release of 89 kidnapping victims. The pontiff offered his prayerful closeness to all the victims of violence and terrorism, expressing hope that the competent authorities will continue to work with determination to ensure the safety and protection of the life of every citizen. February 8th is also the liturgical memory of St. Josephine Bakita, a Sudanese victim of human trafficking born in the second half of the 19th century, who eventually became a Canossian sister and was canonized by Pope St. John Paul II in the Jubilee year 2000. Pope Leo XIV remembered the occasion on Sunday and commended the efforts of all those committed to ending the modern-day slave trade. Pope Leo XIV also prayed for those affected by severe flooding in Spain, Portugal, Morocco, and Sicily, where hundreds of thousands of people have been displaced by widespread flooding in the wake of a powerful winter storm.
Bishop of Leeds Diocese, His Lordship Right Reverend Adrian Chifukwa, has urged consecrated men and women in the Catholic Church to live as visible signs of Christ by remaining close to the poor, the abandoned, and all those in need. He made the call Saturday during the national celebrations of the World Day for Consecrated Life held at St. Martin de Porres Parish in the Diocese of Leeds. Emmanuel Shiwocho was there and he reports.
In his homily, Bishop Chifukwa reflected on the Gospel of Luke 2, verse 22 to 40, drawing inspiration from Simon and Anna, who he described as model of the faithful, patience, and total dedication to God's service. He encouraged priests, sisters, and brothers to remain steadfast in their vocation, noting that consecrated life should be a source of hope and transformation in society. The bishop said true value of the consecrated life is realized when those called to religious life work closely with the vulnerable while carrying out evangelization, adding that their presence among the poor is a powerful witness to Christ's love.
Yeah, so during this day of the consecrated life, my key message was an encouragement to the consecrated people, the brothers, the sisters, and the priests, that they are the light of Christ. Wherever people see them, then people have seen the church. And also I encourage them that their vocation on itself is not so important, but what is important is when these people meet the vulnerable people, the people that are poor, the elderly people who are abandoned, the poor people, the vulnerable. When this vocation takes them to these people, then indeed the visibility that the church, that God is with his people is there. So I encourage them that they should indeed really mix with these people, be with them, give them the faith that is required for their earthly journey.
Concurring with the Bishop, National Director of the Pontifical Mission Society, PMS, Father Peter Madea, said the World Day for the Consecrated Life provide an important opportunity for priests, sisters, and brothers to renew their commitment and reflect on their responsibility as disciples, serving the people of God in the parishes.
Indeed, today we have celebrated the World Day of Pontifical Missionary Union and also consecrated life in the Catholic Church here in Malawi. All the dioceses, they have celebrated this day today, except one diocese. This day is very important to the Catholic Church and also to the priests, sisters, and brothers, because it's a day they reflect much about their calling and also their duty as ambassadors of the people of God in the different places. The priests, the sisters, and the brothers are working. So the priests are ambassadors of the faithful. So through this day, they reflect on their duty as ambassadors and also as the people who are supposed to give catechetical lessons to the Christians.
During the celebration, Pontifical Mission Union marked its 110th anniversary alongside the official launch of the PMU Chitenje, adding color to the day's activity. For Luntha News in Ililongwe, this is Emmanuel Chiwocha.
Speaker of Parliament Samir Gafar Suleiman has said Parliament must attain full financial independence to effectively carry out its oversight role, warning that reliance on the executive for funding compromises investigations, public inquiries, and transparency in the management of public resources. He made these remarks on Monday during the induction workshop for 3 parliamentary oversight committees held at the Parliament building in Ilongwe. We have more details on this report filed by Gift Kalunga.
Speaker of Parliament Samir Gafar Suleiman said Parliament cannot effectively execute its oversight mandate without full financial autonomy. He noted that independence would allow legislators to freely plan and conduct public inquiries and investigations without interference. Suleiman explained that depending on the executive for resources undermines accountability, comparing it to asking those under investigation to fund the very process meant to scrutinize them. He further stated that the lack of autonomy has in the past stalled critical investigations, citing instances where committees failed to conclude inquiries after funding was withdrawn when probes involves executive members. Suleiman stressed that empowering key committees such as the Budget Committee, Public Accounts Committee, and statutory committees is vital to ensuring that public funds are used as intended. He added that continuous capacity building workshops are necessary to equip new members of parliament with knowledge on parliamentary business, particularly oversight.
Parliament, we have always said that in order for us to conduct effective oversight, we need to have financial independence and full autonomy so that we are able to set our programs and follow through, whether it's through inquiries or public inquiries or investigations, so that we don't have to always go to the executive to ask for resources. You know, it's like going to people that you want to inquire from, asking them to fund you transport to go to them and ask them questions.
UNDP resident representative Fenera Frost said the induction workshop is critical in strengthening parliamentary oversight at a time when Malawi is facing increasing fiscal pressure, rising public debt, and limited fiscal space. She noted that effective and well-coordinated oversight across the full budget cycle helps safeguard public resources, promote fiscal discipline, and build public trust in state institutions. She added that the workshop equips members of parliament with practical tools to scrutinize public debt, fiscal risks, domestic resource mobilization, and the operations of state-owned enterprises. Frost emphasized that strong, constructive oversight is not adversarial, but a development imperative that supports microeconomic stability and ensures public resources are used transparently and responsibly for benefit of all Malawians. Meanwhile, members of parliament from the Budget Committee, Public Accounts Committee, and statutory committees are currently attending 1.5-day induction workshop for the three parliamentary oversight committees. For Luntha News, this is Gift Kalonga.
Lilongwe City Council has raised concern over the continued presence of vendors selling goods on a newly constructed bridge in the capital, warning that the practice poses serious safety and traffic challenges. The council says the bridge was built to ease the movement of pedestrians and motorists, but the growing number of traders operating on the structure is undermining its intended purpose. We have more details on this report filed by Constance Kamdimini.
Speaking in an interview, Lilongwe City Mayor Alex Birabanda said authorities have taken steps to remove the vendors, but so far the measures have not yielded meaningful results. Banda said the congestion caused by vending activities is putting lives at risk and disrupting the free flow of traffic. He emphasized that the council is committed to restoring order and ensuring that public infrastructure serves its proper function.
Nkhani meneyo izoona kukonsolo kuilipo kumano misiga moja muli machairman.
As Lilongwe City Council, we are aware of the situation, but what everyone needs to understand is each and every market has its own leadership and vendors responsible in handling issues like these. So once the leadership fails to handle a particular issue, then the council comes in. That's why you see us sometimes chasing vendors operating in illegal spaces.
So mafuso ambiri okuzana ndi mavenda amene aja kapena zimene akuchita mavenda aja amafunika ziyankha kwambiri ndi machana anamsika muja kuli wankulu wa mavenda kumufunsa kuti.
The mayor has appealed to the chairpersons and leaders of the vendors to cooperate with city authorities in resolving the matter amicably. Lilongwe City Council is urging all traders to relocate to designated trading spaces to promote safety, cleanliness, and orderly business operations in the capital. For Luntha News in Lilongwe, this is Constance Kamtemin.
Government has raised concern over persistent challenges hampering efforts to strengthen the country's early warning systems for disasters, citing critical understaffing and widespread vandalism of weather monitoring equipment as major setbacks. Deputy Minister of Natural Resources Chivililo Mpinganjira said the challenges are undermining national disaster preparedness despite deliberate government efforts to improve forecasting and response mechanisms. He was speaking on Monday during an interface meeting focused on disaster risk management and climate resilience. Alison Banda has filed this report.
Mpinganjira disclosed that the Ministry of Natural Resources is working closely with the World Meteorological Organization, WMO, to address capacity gaps within the early warning infrastructure. However, he noted that limited natural resources and destruction of vital meteorological instruments continue to affect the currency and the timeliness of weather data, which is essential for ensuring reliable warnings to communities. The Deputy Minister further said the ministry has intensified community engagement initiatives, particularly in disaster-prone areas, to raise awareness about the danger of settling in high-risk zones such as floodplains and river banks. He emphasized that preventing unsafe settlements and protecting public infrastructure are key to reducing the devastating impacts of floods, storms, and other climate-related disasters.
Yeah, indeed, as you have rightly pointed out, there's more to be done. We have to come up with plans of safeguarding the equipment that these organizations are donating to us. There is funding, a lot of funding that is coming through with the World Bank, the WMO, Cruise itself, and other organizations that were represented here. As you know, in the past few days, we've been conducting familiarization tours, and on Saturday we were at Met Services. So we've been made aware of some issues to do with vandalism, and we started addressing them on Saturday. We'll continue addressing them so that whatever we receive will be properly safeguarded.
Meanwhile, World Meteorological Organization Secretary General Professor Celesti Saulo commended Malawi government for its commitment to strengthening meteorological and climate information systems through the Department of Climate Change and Meteorological Services.
Well, certainly, yes. The government of Malawi is doing a great job at improving their capacities in terms of how they provide meteorological and climate information through the Department of Climate Change and Meteorological Services. Having said that, certainly they need more support because there are so many challenges that you are facing because of extreme weather and extreme climate that you need to be prepared for that. I was very impressed by Her Excellency, the Minister of Natural Resources, because she's well aware of the importance of building climate resilience to strengthening the capacity of the Department of Climate Change.
However, Professor Saulo stressed the need for increased technical and financial support, noting that Malawi remains highly vulnerable to extreme weather events linked to climate change. She said, strengthening early warning systems is critical to saving lives, protecting livelihoods, and enhancing countries' overall resilience in the face of increasingly frequent and severe climate shock.
Remember that you're watching news coming to you live from Bishop Navy Media Center, and today with me, Tandi Wemzmara. Before we proceed, let's have another look at the headlines. Pope Leo XIV voices sorrow over deadly Nigeria attacks and urges protection of civilians. Parliament calls for financial independence to strengthen oversight role. Government flags staffing and vandalism challenges affecting early warning systems. And in other news, Pan-African women leaders pen explosive letter to Yoweri Museveni over sexual violence on women after Uganda elections. Proceeding with the news, education expert Lexon Dalama said long-standing structural problems continue to affect performance in government schools, particularly in remote rural areas, and warns against the assumption that only urban learners excel academically. Dalama made these remarks in an interview while commenting on differences in learner performance between rural and urban government schools. We have more details in this report filed by Judith Ogan and read in our studios by Manuel Shuocha.
In his remarks, Ndalama said while urban schools are often perceived to perform better, the comparison ignores serious challenges faced by many government schools across the country. He pointed to persistent teachers' shortage in rural areas, saying many schools struggle to attract and retain qualified teachers due to their remote locations. Ndalama said the situation has led to overcrowded classrooms, limited subjects option, and reduced learners' support, factors that affect academic performance. The education expert also noted declined confidence in the education among some parents, especially in rural communities where unemployed among graduates has raised doubts about the value of schooling. Ndalama said the government's efforts to build teacher houses and improve staffing in hard rural reach-out areas needs to be sped up, while communities should be encouraged to view education as a tool for problem-solving and creating opportunities, not only formal employment.
It's a generalization to say that only urban students achieve better compared to rural areas. Of course, schools in most remote rural areas have challenges of having less teachers because most of the teachers don't want to be in the remote rural areas. And as a result, you find that probably most of teachers are found in urban or urban areas. But even that could be a generalization. And then in the rural areas, quite a number of parents don't value education. Maybe with these developments where people are going to school, come back and don't get a job, there is a general belief that education is not helping learners to get employment.
Ndalama further warned that without decisive action on teachers' deployment, community engagement, and learning conditions, government school in both rural and urban areas will continue to struggle.
The National Registration Bureau (NRB) has registered about 970,000 children during the first phase of the National Birth Registration Campaign, representing 88% of the targeted number. NRB Public Relations Officer Norman Fuladira said the response from parents and guardians across the country has been encouraging, noting that the phase targeted the registration of about 1.1 million children in 5 districts. Phyllis Chizombe has filed this report.
Speaking in an interview, Fuladira said the strong turnout reflects growing awareness among parents on the importance of birth registration in securing a child's legal identity. He said birth certificates are critical in accessing essential services such as education, healthy care, and social protection. Fuladira added that the nation exercise will be implemented in 7 phases and aims to register children below the age of 16, including newborn babies, in order to close existing gaps in civil registration.
Phase 1 of the National Birth Registration Campaign, which involved the districts of Chitipa, Dedza, Likoma, Luntha, Rural, and Machinga, went on very well. We had an overwhelming response from the people who came to our centers to register their children, and I would comfortably say that it appears phase 1 was a success. And right now we are receiving the data from the machines which are coming from the centers in the rural communities to the district headquarters.
The first phase of the campaign covered Machinga, Luntha Rural, Chitipa, Likoma, and Dedza district, where NRB worked closely with community leaders and local authorities to reach eligible children. The Bureau has since appealed to parents and guardians in districts yet to be covered to take advantage of the upcoming phases, stressing that birth registration is free and essential for safeguarding children's rights and future opportunities. Fales Jizombe, reporting for Luntha News.
In sports, Luntha City Mayor Isaac Jomo Osman has commended the Malawi Boxing Association MABA for its role in developing and promoting boxing in the country, particularly among young people. The mayor made the remarks when members of the Malawi Boxing Association paid a courtesy call to him at his office in Blantyre. We have more details in this report filed by Patrick Pupa.
During the meeting, the Malawi Boxing Association delegation briefed the mayor on ongoing programs aimed at nurturing boxing talent, especially among the youth, and strengthening the sport at both grassroots and national levels. Mayor Jomo Osman praised the association for the sport as a tool for youth empowerment, discipline, and social development, noting that boxing has the potential to keep young people away from the harmful behavior while opening up opportunities for personal growth and professional careers. He further assured the association of the Blantyre City's council support, saying the city remains committed to promoting sports development as a part of its broader agenda to empower young people and encourage healthy lifestyles.
It's an welcome idea, as you know that it's my aim as city father to bring back the glory that I lost. If you remember, Blantyre was the very best place where we had a lot of boxes. We're talking about Masamba, Kayunis, Chitenjes. We had a lot of boxes. Just because of some of the challenges, now those names are going. We need to bring back the boxing to the city. It's one of the things that will help to make our youth be busy. As you know, a lot of youth doesn't have something to do, and we don't have a lot of entertainment in Blantyre. So boxing is part of entertainment.
On his part, Malawi Boxing Association President Francis Kadzakalowa highlighted some of the challenges facing boxing in Malawi, including limited infrastructure and resources, and appealed for partnership to help grow the sport.
Okay, so we came here for two main things. The first one is to introduce to him the boxers that he won gold medals in Mzuzu in the national championship. As much as I represent the whole country in terms of boxing, but we thought it so necessary to take the boxers who have done so well in the Blantyre city and take them to the mayor so that he understands that Blantyre is also doing well in terms of boxing. So secondly, we came here to propose that we should have a Blantyre Mayor's Trophy, a boxing trophy, this one, knowing that Blantyre has been quiet in terms of boxing.
The meeting also discussed future plans, such as hosting boxing tournaments in Blantyre and increasing community engagement to identify and develop upcoming box talent. For Luntha News, this is Patrick Pupa.
Now, in other news, People's Liberation Party leader Martha Karua has raised alarm over alleged cases of sexual violence against women in Uganda following the January 2026 general elections. In a strongly worded statement, Karua addressed President Yoweri Museveni and Chief of Defense Forces General Muhoozi Kainerugaba, calling for accountability and justice. Our reporter Alfonso Uma has more details.
People's Liberation Party leader Martha Karua has sounded the alarm over what she describes as widespread and targeted sexual violence against women in Uganda in the aftermath of the January 2026 elections. In an open letter addressed to President Yoweri Museveni and the Chief of Defense Forces General Muhoozi Kainerugaba, Karua said the alleged abuses go beyond Uganda's borders, framing them as a regional, continental and global concern that demands urgent attention.
We, the women of the Jumuiya and the African region, as advocates of justice globally, we write this letter in a state of profound shock and shared grief. The atrocities currently being visited upon the women of Uganda are not merely a Ugandan crisis, they are a stain on the conscience of the African continent and a direct assault on the universal principles of human dignity.
Karua warned that the dignity and safety of women must be upheld at all times, stressing that acts of sexual violence constitute grave violations of human rights and international law. She argued that the alleged crimes amount to an attack on human dignity everywhere, not just in Uganda. Describing the situation as a dark moment for democracy and human rights, Karua termed the alleged abuses as a major setback following the January elections. She accused security forces of using sexual violence, humiliation, and intimidation as tools to settle political scores against perceived opponents. The PLP leader was flanked by members of the Pan-African Progressive Leaders Solidarity Network, a coalition of regional women leaders who expressed solidarity with alleged victims. The group dismissed claims surrounding the reported assault of Barbara Changulanyi, the wife of opposition leader Robert Changulanyi, popularly known as Bobby Wine. They alleged that security forces forcibly entered her home, vandalized property, and subjected her to sexual violence and torture claims that have sparked outrage among regional and international human rights advocates.
4 military men perpetrated a heinous act of sexual violence by ripping off Barbara's clothing, leaving her exposed to over 50 jeering men. She was tortured until she lost consciousness, leading to hospitalization at Nsambia Hospital.
Following these allegations against President Museveni and his son General Muhoozi Kainerugaba, the group has called for a decisive action from international and regional bodies, including the African Union, the African Court on Human and People's Rights, the United Nations, the East Africa Community, and SADC.
What remains is action by the authorities in Uganda, by the world's and the region's human rights organizations. For us is to use our agency to let the world know, to let Jumuiya know the atrocities being visited on the women of Uganda, to amplify the voices of the women of Uganda.
They are demanding independent investigations, accountability for those responsible, and immediate protection and support for victims. Alphonse Ouma, Luntha TV, Nairobi.
And that's about what we had time for in this edition of our news bulletin. But before we go, here's a reminder of the headlines. Pope Leo XIV voices sorrow over deadly Nigeria attacks and urges protection of civilians. Parliament calls for financial independence to strengthen oversight role. Government flags staffing and vandalism challenges affecting early warning systems. And in other news, Pan-African women leaders pen explosive letter to Yoweri Museveni over sexual violence on women after Uganda elections. My name is Tandy Wemzumara. Thank you so much for keeping me company, and do continue following the rest of our programs right here on Luntha TV. Goodbye for now and stay safe.